Hello again, Kingston Town Administrator Keith Hickey with the latest edition of This Week in Kingston for the week ending January 3rd, 2025. Happy New Year to everybody. Hope everybody had a fantastic Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's. We are now in 2025 and the busier time of year for um, the town starts now with regards to budgeting processes and just costs in general. So hopefully, I hope everybody enjoyed themselves, but it's going to be important for everybody to be aware and stay tuned on what's going on. There's going to be a lot of meetings starting in the next couple of weeks. Finance Committee, Capital Planning Committee, Board of Selectmen will see a recommended budget from me on January 14th, less than 2 weeks away now. So, and it'll be a lot of discussion this year around the fiscal 26 budget. If you may remember last year when we went to town meeting in the spring, there was a pretty significant increase in spending for a few different reasons. What that did was it eliminated our excess levy capacity almost entirely. So this year, to have any sort of substantial increase in costs will require potentially a Proposition 2.5 override. So again, I don't want to raise a red flag on anybody at this point. There's a lot of work to be done between now and fall town meeting. But for the first time, I think ever in Kingston's history, there is a possibility of a discussion, or there'll be at least a discussion about a Proposition 2.5 override. There'll also, in all likelihood, be an article for the repairs of the elementary school roof. You may have heard me talk about in the past that the elementary school received a grant to the state to fund what we expect to be about 53% of the cost to make the roof repairs, whether it's replacement or repairing at this point. We don't know, but that'll be identified sometime in the near future, and then a funding request will come forward for the improvements to that roof. So there'll be some discussion about that as well. So again, the week of January 3rd, it's been a pretty quiet week. We were obviously closed yesterday on the 1st. We don't have a Board of Selectmen meeting until January 14th. At that meeting, there'll be a few things discussed. At least the most significant thing to me will be the presentation of the fiscal 26 proposed budget. But there's also some other things on there just to make sure people are aware. We're looking at making some changes to the aquaculture regulations that addresses specifically shellfish harvesting and whatnot. And there'll be the request of the police chief to fill openings in the police department. So a couple of items on there besides obviously the budget. We have some acceptance of donations to the Council on Aging as well. So we thank people for donating to them. And then also installing a new telephone pole on Grove Street. There'll be a public hearing at 6:15 for that. So again, it's about a week and a half without another Board of Selectmen meeting, and then we start back up again. The Finance Committee is going to meet on the 8th of January to start their discussions on some of the smaller budget items. Departments that are typically volunteer, maybe planning board, zoning board, things of that nature where there won't be a lot of movement on those budgets. So I think the Finance Committee chairman is looking to try to get a head start on some of the smaller department budgets that can be reviewed and discussed with very little conversation, because there's really no changes. There's in most cases no personnel unless there's a clerical staff member who gets a stipend or gets paid overtime to do the minutes and attend the meetings. But some of the other things that are going on to make you aware of, you can register your dog for 2025 already. So if you want to stop down at the town clerk's office, or there's opportunities online to register your dog as well. If you go online, you just go to the front page of the website, and on there will be a spot you can click on for 2025 dog licenses. It's $10 for a spayed or neutered dog, $20 for an intact dog. Those licenses are valid from the 1st of January through the end of the calendar year. There's a late fee if you register your dog after March 15th. So you certainly have plenty of time before now in the middle of March to get your dog registered. But if you do register your dog after March 15th, there will be a $20 late fee assessed. So try to avoid that if you can. Like I said, you can do it online if it's easier for you that way, or if you want to stop in and say hi to the town clerk staff, they'd be happy to issue your dog license in person. So try to remember that and take care of licensing your dog. Also, at a December 10th Water Commission meeting, the Water Commission has voted to increase the water rates after keeping the water rates the same for well over a decade. The rates are tiered like they are now. They reduced the number of tiers from seven to five. I'm sorry, seven to four, excuse me. Um, so there is an increase that people are anticipating and the information that the Water Commission has submitted. So if you use 10,000 10,000 gallons per quarter or less, you'll see an average of $40 per year, $10 a quarter. If you use 20,000 gallons per quarter, you'll see an increase of about $140 a year. So what the Water Commission is continuing to do is charge a higher rate for the more water you use. The thought process behind that is to try to have people conserve water when they can. If a toilet's leaking, if a sink is dripping, things of that nature, we're trying to incent you to make those repairs to reduce the amount of water being used by customers. So it's an incentive to try to use less water when you can. There's a letter and some examples on the town's webpage as well. If you go to the town of Kingston webpage at www.kingstonma.gov, there's a letter and some frequently asked questions the water department posted up there that can provide you some information on um, what to expect. The first water bill that we'll see um, that new rate charged will be the March bill for the months of November, December, and January. Um, so please keep that in mind. So you will be seeing some sort of a small increase potentially on depending on how much water you use. The sewer department, I think, as everybody may recall, also increased their rates probably about 45 days to 2 months ago. So there are some rate increases expected through the water and sewer departments. Those rates haven't been adjusted for well over a decade. So the both commissions have addressed the budget shortfall they have by not collecting enough revenue by increasing their rates. Um, so with that, again, first budget presentation that I'll give to the Board of Selectmen is um, January 14th. We've already talked briefly about what's on the agenda. Expect to have a fairly lengthy conversation with the board on the 14th and that evening on what's included and what's not included in the budget. We'll try to lay out as best we can what the budget would look like, I guess I would say, without an override, and then potentially some additional costs um, that the town might want to consider if there was the appetite to do an override. Again, I think it's going to be important for people to try to stay tuned, weigh in when you can, whether it be reaching out to your Board of Selectmen members or myself, attending a meeting to let them know in person. Um, or certainly can stop by and feel free to stop by and voice whatever concerns you have. I think the Board of Selectmen is well aware of the impact the taxes are having. They want to keep the taxes as low as we possibly can moving forward. But just like you're seeing at home with a lot of the other expenses, the expenses to operate this business continue to go up as well. So it's been a bit of a challenge to um, maintain the services that we are maintaining at the same or at a tax rate that is below a Proposition 2.5 threshold. So again, I think it's going to be important to make people aware of what concerns you may have as residents, and if you have any questions, comments, love to hear from you. So please feel free to reach out when you can. So with that, I want to again wish you a very merry and happy New Year. Hope everybody stays safe, and we'll talk to you again late next week. Have a great day.